Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Meng Gu. I'm an extension specialist with Texas AgriLife Extension Service. And I know that it's not spring anymore. In the springtime, I put on these Spring Quick Buy webinar series. But our problem associated with the industry do not stop at spring. And for instance, this citrus greening in Harris County, effective July 15th, 2014, the TDA has expanded the citrus greening quarantine by adding all of Harris County in the state of Texas. So what does this mean to the green industry businesses in Harris and the surrounding counties? And I welcome all of you joining us in this webinar. In this webinar, we have three presenters. First one is going to be Jim Reeves. Jim is the Director of Legislative and Regulatory Affairs with Texas Nursery and Landscape Association. And here's you see his contact information. Jim is also the TNLA PAC Executive Director, Texas Agriculture Council Vice Chairman, Texas Water Smart Advisory Council. He's the Texas Employer for Immigration Reform on the Executive Committee, and he's also on the board with Texas Invasive Plant and Pest Council. So any legislative and regulatory related stuff, Jim is the man within TNLA. And if you need help with that, and put down his contact information. Our second presenter is Mr. Monty Nesbitt. Monty is our Extension Program Specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, and his right here in College Station, just 3 doors down the hallway from my office, and he has statewide responsibility, being with A&M since 2009. He was a graduate with the A&M too, a long time ago. His extension outreach focus is on pecan, citrus, olive, temperate trees, and small fruits. And his research area is on water management, propagation, freeze protection, and variety performance. And here you have his email address and phone numbers. And Monty has been put a lot of focus on citrus greening, in Texas from the get-go, trying to educate homeowners and also the industry folks on this issue. Our third speaker is Dr. Kevin Ong. Dr. Kevin Ong is an associate professor in... Yes?
I think you need to start because the things, I don't think they're hearing it. I don't think you started broadcasting yet.
Oh.
Start again.
How did I miss that part?
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I apologize. I have to start this again. Good morning. This is Meng Gu. I'm the Assistant Professor Extension Specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. And today our topic is citrus greening in Harris County. On the TDA website, you'll find out that effective July 15th, 2014, the department has expanded the citrus greening quarantine by adding all of Harris County in the state of Texas. So what does this mean to the green industry businesses in Harris and surrounding counties? And we welcome you to this webinar to find more on this issue from 3 experts. Our first one is Jim Reeves. Jim is the Director of Legislative and Regulatory Affairs with Texas Nursery and Landscape Association, and he has also many other titles like Executive Director of TNLA PAC, Vice Chairman of Texas Agriculture Council. He's on the Advisory Council with Texas Water Smart. He's on the Executive Committee of Texas Employers for Immigration Reform. He's also a board member of Texas Invasive Plant and Pest Council. Our second speaker is Mr. Monty Nesbitt. Monty is our Extension Program Specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. His located at College Station, he has statewide responsibility from 2009, and his extension outreach area is pecan, citrus, olive, temperate trees, and small fruits. And his research area is on water management, propagation, freeze protection, and variety performance. If you need help in those areas, his contact information is right here on this slide. And our third presenter is Dr. Kevin Ong. He's an associate professor and director of the Texas Plant Disease Diagnostic Lab right here on Texas A&M campus. He got his PhD in plant pathology from Clemson University. And the Plant Clinic collaborates efforts with state and federal agencies through the National Plant Diagnostic Networks, the Southern region. Both Kevin and Monty has been working on citrus screening since it was first discovered, or back in 2012. And here's a little logistic of the GoToWebinar panel. If you have questions during the presentation, you could click on this panel. You'll see here it says question, and then you could type your question here. This is where you could type your question. And also, if you want to chat with any of the staff members, James Tice, one of the organizers with TNLA, Jim Reeves, Kevin Ong, myself, and Monty Nesbitt, you could type your message here. And of course, from this pull-down menu, you could choose to send it to all audience or choose it to send a private message to one of us. So basically, if you have questions, I would encourage you to do it here. Although we have an option that you can email it to me, but normally it may not show up as quickly as texting the question here. And I will collect all your questions, but the questions will be answered at the end of the presentation so that we have a good flow of the presentation. I will try to make sure that all your questions are answered. And just want to remind you that all these webinars, including the previous one, have been recorded. It's available on this web page, greenbeyond.wordpress.com/webinars. So at the end of this, you could come back to this web page and view the recording if you just happen to miss a portion of it or something. And now I will change the presenter to Jim. Jim, go ahead.
All right. Excellent. Well, good morning. Appreciate y'all taking the time to attend this webinar. This is an incredibly important issue for our industry and the commercial citrus industry in the state of Texas. Our number one goal is to slow the spreading of this disease and also maintain commerce. As you are probably aware, in January of 2012 in San Juan, Texas, citrus greening was first detected. A couple weeks later, another tree was found positive in a grove adjacent to that original grove. 70 trees to this point had been found positive, and I believe they had been destroyed. Immediately following all the detections there, Cameron and Hidalgo counties are under complete quarantine at this point, meaning that nothing can move within those counties unless it has a compliance agreement from the Texas Department of Agriculture. At the time, they had 5 different 5-mile quarantines established around different commercial groves. Since then, like I said, TDA has decided to take the approach of quarantine, the entire county instead of the 5-mile radius. After the 2013 legislative session, there were some new rules that came about for all the citrus growers down in the Rio Grande Valley. The intent was also to slow the spread of the disease but it would require anybody who was going to propagate citrus or grow citrus, they would have to grow under a certain screening. Now these pictures that you're seeing aren't exactly the full screening structures that were initiated by law, but a lot of different growers decided they didn't want to go through the hassle of putting up the screening. Other people decided they were going in 100% and they put the screening up, and they're in the process of being certified by the Texas Department of Agriculture. Retail stores within the citrus quarantine are allowed to sell their citrus if they do have a compliance agreement. There's a difficult procedure. I mean, not difficult, but it's kind of hard. If a consumer wants to purchase a tree, they have to fill out a form. They have to take that tree directly to their house and put it in the ground where they said they were going to. The following day, TDA inspectors will go back and verify that the homeowner or the landscape contractor did put that tree where they were supposed to. Some scientists do believe that our ornamental trees are the main cause of the spread. We feel that there are a bunch of different causes. Just for the fact that in the northern part of Mexico, they are heavily infested with Asian citrus psyllids, which is the vector that spreads this disease, and they are blown across the Rio Grande Valley every day. In late 2013, there was a nursery down in the citrus zone, but not in the quarantined area. They shipped over 10,000 trees into Harris and Galveston counties. To our knowledge, over 5,500 of those trees have been sold. As Mung Mung mentioned, July 15th, USDA and Kevin as well confirmed that citrus greening was positive in Harris County. That's pretty scary considering the amount of citrus we ship into that county each year. It's in the hundreds of thousands of trees. Immediately after the discovery, there was a complete stop sale on every tree. It didn't matter if it came from that one nursery or another nursery from another part of the state. Everything was on hold. TNLA and TDA held actually an emergency meeting that Friday to discuss what realistic options there were to help slow the spread and to continue our industry to be able to sell the citrus trees. The first actions TDA took, they did set up compliance agreements, and they came up with the idea of all the trees that were in Harris County, they would put a tag on, or a sticker, that said that this tree could not leave Harris County. It could move freely within the county, but could not leave. First violation, if someone were to take it out, it's a $2,500 fine per tree, and second offense is $5,000. So it's pretty stiff. TDA and APHIS, they are spending a lot of time testing trees from surrounding counties of Harris, and they're still testing in Harris. We just feel it's a matter of time before it's detected in another county. TDA has compliance agreements for retailers, growers, our landscape professionals, and even our growers outside of Harris County have a compliance agreement where they can ship in once they sign that. Moving forward, these protocols developed by TDA, that's going to probably be used in other counties when citrus greening is detected. And when that does happen, let's say if Galveston County, there's a detection there, then those trees could still be able to move between those two counties. Next session, I'm almost positive there will be legislation filed, and what that looks like, I'm not sure. I mean, we'll work with the commercial industry to ensure to slow the spread of this disease, but that's where we are right now on the regulatory side, and I look forward to any questions you might have after the other two presenters are done.
Okay, well, thank you, Jim. Moni, you're next.
Okay, this is Monty Nesbitt. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this webinar. I appreciate those of you who are listening out there. This is an important topic. It really takes a community of horticulturists, nurserymen, growers, end users, commercial folks, landscapers. It's going to take a community effort to have a positive impact or slow spread of this particular problem. My goal with it in the next few minutes is to really bring you up to speed on what is this disease, what are its symptoms, and how does the vector, what's the biology of the vector, and how is that controlled. For starters, the citrus greening, the Asian name is Huanglongbing, or HLB. So you'll see it referred to as CG or HLB, depending on what, where you are. It's called citrus greening. Trees that are infected will have nutritional problems, look deficient in a number of nutrients, often be yellow. That Huanglongbing name actually means yellow dragon. So trees become yellow. It is the fruit that doesn't color properly, stays partially green, where we get the name citrus greening.
Monty, can I interrupt
Yes.
for a second? Are you showing your PowerPoint or it's a black screen?
There we go. Can you see that?
If you click on the show my application and then change to your PowerPoint, can you try that? I assume you are showing your PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I can see the PowerPoint on my end.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So fruit, the name citrus greening comes from the effect on the fruit. Trees appear yellow or nutrient deficient. Fruit stays green or partially green and will be misshapen and have a bitter taste. It's important to point out the fruit is safe to eat, but long term there's some problems with fruit quality on trees that are infected with this disease. The trees infected will decline over a period of time, and those will eventually die. There is no cure for the disease, and it's a fatal and serious problem with citrus trees. My slides are frozen. I don't know what the problem is.
Hold on a second. I'll see whether I can fix that.
Thank you.
I apologize for the little technical glitch here. We're gonna let Monty to work on the issue that he has right now, and Kevin, are you ready? We'll make Kevin the presenter. Kevin? Dr. Ong, you're on.
All right, I think I'm on.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. And now let's see if we can get that. All right, can you all see my screen? Now, Monty's going to talk a bit more about the symptoms that you might see on a plant and so on, and I was going to come in third to try and cover up the last bit of stuff with some information regarding the quarantine and literally what that means. What I have up here is a map of the quarantine zone for citrus greening. Those two counties down in the valley and Harris County, where Houston is. What you see now is a map that I just got off the web, perhaps the latest map on the national quarantine boundaries. And what I want you to notice here is it says for Asian citrus psyllid and citrus greening. There are two different quarantines out there. And for those of us in Texas, particularly landscapers and growers, nursery owners who are out there, there needs to be a differentiation here between the quarantines. There is, in this state, we have TDA imposing quarantines, and then those areas become regulated and recognized by the USDA, APHIS, and so that becomes a national quarantine issue. On this map right here, what you will notice is those two counties in the valley are shown as quarantine for Asian citrus psyllid and citrus greening, but you don't see Harris County showing up as a federal quarantine for citrus greening because it is not yet recognized by the USDA APHIS as a federal quarantine. So it is a state quarantine at the current time. The other thing on this map, you will also see that the whole state of Texas is under quarantine for Asian citrus psyllid. Things to remember here is the disease and the vector. One thing to remember is just because you have Asian citrus psyllid does not mean that you have the disease, or nor does it mean that the Asian citrus psyllid is carrying the bacterium that is the cause of the disease. So just keep that in mind, and I'll let Monty go on with some of that stuff later. Just some pictures here. What we like to look for when we go out looking for this stuff, or some of the things that you can keep an eye for. The vector, the Asian citrus psyllid. On your left are the nymph. They are, when you have flush, look under those things. They're pretty easy to find. Typically, you'll get the those squiggly, waxy excrement. That's going to be dead giveaway where you'll find those psyllids. Again, remind here, just because you see psyllids doesn't mean the tree is infected or sick. This slide here shows you an image of the Asian citrus psyllid. This insects are unique in a sense that they stick their butts up in the air at about a 45-degree angle. So if you were to look for them around your plants, you'll see those adults kind of sticking out, as shown on this slide here. They are pretty small. I would say about about approximately 5 millimeters or so, but that means that they are visible to the naked eye. Now, a few things about what's currently going on in Harris County. We're testing a bunch of plants that actually came in as containerized plants. So what Monty will be showing you is some of the symptoms, more advanced symptoms, particularly with plants in the ground. I can say this, that in the past 3 years that Dr. Dave Apple and myself have a area-wide survey on the Upper Gulf Coast. we have not detected citrus greening on any of the established plants in our sentinel plots that we have been keeping an eye on. So, what do you look for in terms of plants in a pot? If there are symptoms, you might see the a blotchy mottled appearance, and typically this appearance is going to be the blotchiness is going to be asymmetrical. This is not a definite symptom to say that it is citrus greening, but it's kind of a good rule of thumb to get an idea of whether or not it may be. Typically with nutritional problems, you get more symmetrical type mottling occurring. There, another side. The mottled symptoms too, typically you'll actually see on both sides of the leaves. So on the front and on the back, the damage is visible. So it's not only partially true, but it's visible through that leaf. So if you get a plant in a pot, or you are scouting out your nursery stock, trying to see if if you're having to pull samples, this is some clues that you can be looking for. Quickly going through some of the resources that are available to the general public, both homeowner or nurseries, whether you're a retail or producer, or even the landscapers. There are some guides that have been developed way back when. I think this was in 2010 and 2011, and been updated to reflect the find in Texas in 2012. That can be found at Texas A&M AgriLife Bookstore. That's the agrilifebookstore.org. Just do a search for citrus greening. Bad news, I just found out this morning that this website is being revamped and supposed to open up on September 2nd. So if you need any of those materials, email Mang Mang. Couple of other websites here I want to show, and I'm just going to skip right out here. Let's see if I can show you some the website itself. Okay, let's see. Can you see, Mang Mang? Can you see the website?
Monty, can you see? Monty and Jim, can you see the website?
I'm looking at Kevin's desktop.
Okay. How about right now?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the websites that's good for those of us here in Texas is this website, texascitrusgreening.org. There's a good bit of information out there. This website was kind of put together to help out the folks in the valley a while back, and there's a lot of good information there. I think particularly interesting is when you click on the I think the psyllid control treatment, you get this page, which gives you a list of materials available for citrus Asian citrus psyllid control. Now the main thing to remember here is the bacterium that's in the plant needs to move from plant to plant to cause new infection. So the bacterium actually requires the vector, the Asian citrus psyllid. So one of the best ways to actually manage this disease is to stop the vector, stop the insect from carrying the bacteria from one plant to the next. And hence this kind of strategy to utilize control materials to control the vector. So on this website, there are a list of materials that are available, whether you're in a nursery type situation, whether you're practicing organic type methodologies, and dooryard, if you're a homeowner trying to find what you can get off the shelf and use in your own backyard, there are some information right here. Those of you that like history, to know a little bit more about this disease and how it happened in Texas, the texasagriculture.gov, which is the Texas Department of Ag website, under the pest disease alerts on citrus greening, have that information. And in fact, if you look at the resources on your right hand side, there's a bunch of additional resources that you can actually take a look and see what the state has been doing or is doing in terms of coming up with rules or the potential actions that they have taken in situations where areas where the disease has been found. One last place to show you is the federal website. This is the USDA-APHIS website. I believe it's www.aphis.usda.gov/citrus greening. It will get you to this site which tells you everything that has happened and you want to know about this particular disease and its vector in the United States. So with that, I'm going to kind of quit right here and give Monty the time to talk, and I'll be hanging around. So if you guys have any questions regarding the biology, the movement, what's happening in Harris County, what we need to be looking out for, shoot a question over and we'll try and answer it. Thanks.
Okay, Monty, you're ready?
Yes.
Okay, all right, back to you.
Okay, so I'm back, and this is where we left off. Are you seeing that okay, Kevin?
Yes.
Good, okay. So citrus greening is fatal to citrus trees. We don't have a cure, and there is lots and lots of lost citrus production in Florida as a result of this problem. I had an opportunity to travel there in 2012 to southwestern Florida, and it is pretty moving to see the effect. Trees will die over a period of years. It's not an instant killer of trees. We would call it a decline, and we would refer to it as a tree short life. Once trees are infected, they will not reach the age they possibly can and will eventually succumb. Our challenge in Texas, especially the upper Gulf Coast, is we have periodic freezes that cause setback of trees. And when you overlay freeze challenges and citrus greening, it makes for a very challenging situation for growing citrus long-term in this area. So it's important that we work together as a horticultural community to slow the spread of this disease as much as possible. So we all have a role, and that is to control the vector, as Kevin mentioned. I think that is the biggest thing we can do is limit the ability of the vector to spread this disease. Being alert for symptoms, we want to recognize symptomatic trees, we want to identify those, we want to remove those from the plant community as quickly as possible. So vigilance for symptoms is important. And then the quarantine laws have been described are very effective at helping spread to stem the spread of the disease, and so we all need to observe and then communicate, because there's lots of people in our horticultural community that don't know the quarantine laws, and so we all have a role as nurserymen and extension specialists, master gardeners, and lovers of citrus plants to communicate the quarantine laws to the general public. So some of the classic symptoms, Kevin touched on that, the blotching mottle, the asymmetrical mottling. Another one is raised corky veins that you see in the lower right picture here, pronouncement or very rough textured veins. That's not normal of citrus, and that would be a symptom indicator. But what we have, in my experience with lots of home producers of citrus, is insufficient fertility. It's very, very common when we query master gardeners and home growers of citrus that they don't fertilize well or well enough or frequent enough, and so it's very, very possible to confuse citrus greening infection with poor management of fertilizer, because what you have to understand is that citrus greening is a fertility problem for the citrus tree. It slowly starves the tree of nutrients, and so it dies. So we have a tough time separating out, is this a fertilizer problem or is this citrus greening? So I want to show a few slides of some common citrus nutritional problems. This is zinc deficiency, typically a problem with high pH soils. Notice the fairly regular appearance of the symptoms. If we look across the midrib vein, the main central vein of the leaf, we would find typically a fairly similar pattern from left to right or right to left in terms of the yellowing or chlorosis. Whereas with citrus green, it tends to be more asymmetrical. Blotchy is just kind of a catchword for erratic, non-uniform yellowing as opposed to this uniform yellowing. Here's another symptom of zinc deficiency. Often can be transient, often present on new shoots, high pH soils where there's tree is not able to take enough zinc out of the soil. However, having said this, I will tell you that trees that are showing zinc deficiency and other micronutrient deficiencies, those are signals that the tree may be in early stages of citrus green infection. In other words, the classic blotching modeling is not always what you get, the manifestation of the so what do? Well, we have to consider that just about any nutritional disorder may be where the conversation starts on should this plant be sampled, should the plant be tested, should the plant be checked out. This is a look at magnesium deficiency. You tend to have this miniature Christmas or skinny Christmas tree appearance of green color within the bigger leaf itself. Magnesium is often transient. You can have it on a flush, then you'll have a new flush come on and return to be green in color. If we have symptoms that might be confused with citrus green, followed by regrowth with good normal green color, I would tell you that with citrus green, the plant's not going to go from ill to healthy. There'll be a continuation of the symptoms of chlorosis, blotching modeling, or nutrient deficiencies. So here's another magnesium deficient leaf. Again, next flush of growth might look normal, and thus we would not be as concerned where we see resumption of normal good green color. Manganese deficiency, dark green kind of spider web type veins and pale color in the interveinal areas. Can be confused with iron chlorosis. This is a picture of severe iron chlorosis in leaves. Here is some alkalinity problems on trifoliate orange rootstock. So in summary, there's lots of nutrient deficiencies that can confuse end consumers, the person working in the nursery, and we would say that all nutrient deficiencies ought to be considered as we scout for plants that are showing symptoms of the problem. What we're doing from the extension side is where we have questions and symptoms on a tree. We're walking through with the grower or the user of these citrus plants what type of fertilizer program have these plants been put under. If they've not been fertilized properly, we're suggesting they are fertilized properly, and if normal growth resumes, then we believe this is simply a nutritional problem. Where we don't have resumption of normal good green color, when normal and recommended fertilizer protocols have been followed, then it's time to get in touch with a plant disease clinic, have a plant tested, or simply remove a plant that is having poor health. Next, I want to mention that there are other plants that are citrus relatives, plants in the Rutaceae family, that need to be considered in the prevention and spread of this problem. Morella paniculata, or orange jasmine, is an ornamental plant in the Rutaceae family that can carry the disease, and the vectors will move the disease from plant to plant. So orange jasmine is a plant of concern when we're talking about citrus greening. Curry leaf, which is popular in certain urban populations where you have, particularly Indian culture. They use curry leaf a lot. It is a citrus relative. It can carry citrus greening. Chinese box orange, maybe not as common, but it is used in ornamental trade. It's used as a citrus rootstock. Makes a small, very small citrus berry. Chinese box orange can also carry citrus greening. So we not only have to consider the main citrus, commercial citrus plants, but also some of the relatives as well. And Kevin's talked about the psyllid. He's covered the symptoms well. I won't rehash that. I will say that this insect turns its life cycle around fairly quickly in as little as 15 days under optimal temperature, or more like 47 days under cooler temperature conditions. 9 to 10 generations a year. They overwinter as adults. Cold winters that we have that can challenge our trees also challenge the psyllid population, cause that population to retreat. And it may take in some years in the Harris County, upper Gulf Coast area several months into the summer for psyllids to reappear. So we have to watch flushes of growth. Citrus makes a big flush of growth in the springtime. That's generally when the psyllid populations are low. That generally accounts for the biggest flush of citrus. And then every few weeks, particularly in response to rain or good irrigation, you will have summer flushes of citrus growth. These will be targeted by psyllids for reinfestation. Thus, as we have flushing growth on citrus plants, those need to be observed and scouted for presence of eggs, nymphs, or adults. It is easy when you see pictures of this to underestimate the difficulty of seeing these psyllids. I think Kevin had good metrics on the size of the adults, but I will tell you it's easy to walk past plants and not see it present because they're often on non-prominent areas. They can get tucked away up in some of this new growth area. New growth is a place to look for them. They can be up there. We're talking about the tip of a toothpick in terms of size. If you have other flush attacking insects present, meaning you have leaf miners successfully attacking flush growth, you have whiteflies successfully attacking flush growth, that's a clue you need to be looking at that type of vegetation for presence of psyllids. That indicates there's no insecticide or no insecticide treatments present that's holding those insects back. Thus, psyllids may also be present on that growth. Other pictures, psyllids do cause rosetting or curling of new growth. So this type of rosetting or stunning is also an indicator of possible psyllid presence. We have a psyllid control table that is useful for retail consumers of citrus plants. You have customers buying retail plants. They may want to know how to control psyllids. This table can be downloaded from our Aggie Horticulture site. It's also part of that website that Kevin showed earlier on texascitrusgreening.org. That information is consistent with this information here. This is available as a PDF. You simply want to have that available at a point of sale to hand people the dooryard or home citrus grower treatments for psyllid control. We are stressing, as Kevin mentioned, many of the psyllids found in the upper Gulf Coast right now are not carrying the disease. So presence of psyllids does not mean you need to throw up your hands, give up, and believe that your citrus tree is infected. We do believe psyllid control is critical. Psyllid control should be something that's undertaken by anyone who's growing citrus trees. It generally follows that in areas where psyllids are neglected or citrus trees are neglected, that citrus greening takes a foothold and causes problems for trees and causes spread of the disease. So we're really stressing with end users of citrus trees that they need to control psyllids throughout the life of their trees. That is a big task because these psyllids will be present multiple times a year Thus, we think a robust table that has a number of insecticide choices, oils, neem products, insecticidal soaps, pyrethrin, pyrethroids, and the neonicotinoid products. Having a number of different products available is going to be key to having consumer buy-in for control of this problem. We have some product selection guidelines. Insecticides should have citrus trees on the product label. Those of you who work in retail nurseries, there are some challenges because there's lots of tree insecticides that carry neonicotinoids. These are not legal for use on citrus trees, so they need to be using products that have citrus on the label. The product label is the law, of course, for how the product is used. We don't want to overuse particularly neonicotinoids, which can cause resistance in the insect population. So it's important that we're encouraging folks to rotate through not only use of neonicotinoids, but also other products that don't develop resistance very easily. There is, of course, concern with use of neonicotinoids of impact on bees. And so we may lose those products in the future, thus the need to be using a diverse group of products for control of psyllids. There's some key times to consider psyllid control where you're growing lemons, limes, and other year-round flushing citrus, and I would say that non-bearing citrus fits into this category. It's the fruit on the tree that tends to cause flushing to be more synchronized. You have nursery plants in containers, small growing, developing plants. They're going to continue to grow and flush. So every month at a minimum, these plants should be observed closely for presence of psyllids. Where you have oranges, grapefruit, mandarins, these tend to be spring-bearing, single flowering, flowering once per year plants. Key times to monitor those would be February, May, July, and September. We believe that some periodic, regular scouting of citrus trees contributes to control and contributes to decreased spread of citrus greening. So it's important that we give some guidance to you and guidance to our end users of citrus trees that they need to have a regular approach to monitoring for Asian citrus psyllid. I'll finish with two slides. This is the message to consumers. Regardless of what product they use, psyllids are going to repeatedly reinfest citrus trees. No single application of a product can be expected to provide long-term control. So the person buying the citrus tree is also should expect to have an ongoing control of Asian citrus psyllid, just like they would want to control mites, mealybugs, and other insects on a tree to have a successful outcome. Year-round control. We also are encouraging maintaining high fertility. We're going to have to work in the extension side to provide good recommendations for fertilizing citrus trees. As I mentioned, a lot of people don't do that well. Thus, there's going to be confusion of CG symptoms with lack of nutrition. We're doing a good job of nutrition. I think we'll have less confusion, less questions on whether we have citrus greening infected trees or not. Message to nurserymen, maintain psyllid control throughout the period of time that you're growing or holding citrus plants on your facility. I will tell you, and we had questions recently at a meeting in Harris County, plants can be sitting side by side, some infected, some not. There will be no transfer of disease from those infected plants to non-infected plants if psyllid control is maintained. Where psyllids are present, there's an opportunity to move the disease among plants. Thus, in nursery settings, we want to have close, routine inspection of plants, close inspection for psyllids, close inspection for nutritional oddities. Any plant that's showing a nutritional disorder, whether that's typical or atypical, those would be plants of focus. Those would be plants to bring attention to in terms of maybe having further investigation. Imidacloprid treatment, pot treatment, typically runs its course in approximately 6 weeks, depending on dosage, depending on rate of growth, depending on water regime and temperature and other factors. Plants that you receive from a nursery, if you're a reseller of citrus trees, typically will be carrying some charge of imidacloprid or other neonicotinoid that has a finite lifespan in terms of weeks. And thus, if you're holding plants for a multitude of or several months in a nursery facility, they need to be retreated with the systemic approach and with foliar approaches, because we can't expect one treatment of plants, pot treatment, to last indefinitely. That's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer questions with the other presenters.
Okay, well, thank you, Marty. What I will do is show you some of the questions we have so far. And the first one is, I guess, it's probably more to Jim. Can you all see the first question?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the what's the current quarantine situation. What's the take-home message for growers, landscapers, and garden centers? Garden center retailers.
I think the big question, or the big responsibility, is just to help slow the spread, to get educated, make sure you know what you're looking for, make sure your customers know what to look for, and keep a constant treatment for psyllid reduction.
Kevin and Monty, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, let me jump in here. I think take-home message here is, you got citrus screening, you got the psyllid. The way that we know how to take care of this problem from spreading is to take care of the psyllids. So that's where the focus is on. Also, the one issue with the quarantine is you want to make sure you don't move plants around, because if you do have a diseased plant, we know we have the psyllid all over the state, and so you can move a diseased plant to a clean area, and where clean psyllids can feed on it and potentially pick up the bacterium and transmit it. So two-prong here. Take care of the psyllids on the plants, and don't move the plants about if at all possible.
I think I would add another take-home message is it's not the end of the world. This is a serious problem for our commercial industry. As Jim mentioned, we're all working to protect that. Even if you have a citrus green infected tree in a landscape setting, you can remove that plant, replant, and continue to protect, prevent psyllids, and you can have another window of opportunity to grow citrus trees successfully. I think we can continue to grow citrus successfully in Texas. I think we're adding a layer of challenge with psyllid management, but I think for those of us who are enthusiastic about growing citrus, we don't want to discourage consumers from purchasing and wanting to grow citrus trees themselves.
Well, thank you all. One of the participants shared his comments with us. He said that it's a huge problem for a grower shipping orders that contain citrus through Harris County. Withdrops in Harris County are no longer possible with this quarantine. And this makes it a large enough problem where we are having to consider no longer shipping any citrus to Harris County. And any comments from the panels?
This is Jim.
Okay.
I know TDA is still looking into that, but for the quarantine to be the quarantine, once citrus enters that county, it has to stay. And I haven't talked to TDA about this in a week or two, but I know that they are trying to find solutions for that.
Well, Kevin Ong here. The current workaround has been For the growers is to make Harris County your last stop. Drop shipments up everywhere and last stop Harris County. That seems to be the workaround at this point.
Okay.
And we do understand the shipping aspect, and we're not taking that lightly.
So currently there is no way out of this. You have to make, if you have citrus in the shipping order, and then you have to make Harris the last one, the last stopping point when you have citrus in the shipping order. Is that right?
Correct. You can't take your truck through, drop in Houston, and let those trees be exposed, and then drive back out of the county.
And I guess this shipping order, this order containing the citrus plants, the final stop could be a landscaper's a landscaping side, or it could be a retail garden center, or it could be a wholesaler. I mean, it could be any of those possibilities, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you. One of the attendees asked, do they have predators? I guess they probably referred here as the psyllids. Do psyllids have predators?
Yeah, psyllid does have predator. There's a Tamarixia that is a parasitoid, and there's a lot of effort to expand the release of that, make that more effective. Predators are definitely going to be part of the long-term equation for this problem. We want to help facilitate that establishment. That's a work in progress. Predators, I don't think, will ever eliminate the problem, because if a predator is 100% effective, they work themselves out of business. And so biologically, they always tend to stay one step behind a plant pest like this. That's by design. They're going to help us, but they won't be a solution.
Well, thank you, Monty. The next question is, Monty, you kind of mentioned about the effect of neonicotinoids on the bees. This question is about have bees being considered as a carrier during pollination, and how would this affect colony collapse? I guess she meant bee colony collapse.
Well, this is kind of there's two questions in here. One, we're concerned about the effect of bees by use of neonicotinoids, and that's a worldwide issue. Eastern Europe Union, European Union has temporarily banned use of imidacloprid because of potential. I don't think they know for sure whether colony collapse is part of the challenge, is partially affected by neonicotinoid. Bees are attracted to citrus flowers. They're not required for citrus flower pollination. People don't realize that. But having said that, I think we need to plan our neonicotinoid use for times when bees are not going to be present. That would be the best stewardship of use of imidacloprid or other neonicotinoids. As I mentioned, they have a finite lifespan in the tree. And knowing your citrus tree and when it flowers, you would want to use that when there's a non-flowering period approaching within the next 6 to 8 weeks following application. As far as bees carrying the disease, I don't think that's a consideration.
I'll jump in here. Bees are not considered a carrier for the reason that this bacterium is a phloem inhabiting bacterium, so it does require some sort of feeding into the phloem to acquire the bacterium. Unlike some other bacterial diseases like fire blight, where bees have been implicated as carrier. In the case of citrus breeding, bees are not a carrier of the disease. Mong, are there any other questions?
So here's a website here where the recording will be posted, and I appreciate the sponsorship from Southern Risk Management Education Center and Texas Nursery and Landscape Association, and appreciate Jim, Kevin, and Monty, being here, presenting this very useful information to our audience here, and appreciate the audience being here, trying to get more information about this. And you'll have the contact information of the panelists here, so feel free to send us any more questions as you may come up with later on. Thank you. And this concludes our webinar today, Citrus Greening in Harris County. Thanks. Have a great day.